Primetime News with Israel Lai.
Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on the Joy News channel. Coming up in the bulletin, President Mahama pledges government support to RLG as it launches its $10 billion technology park. Kumasi rainstorm rips off roof of SHS school, rendering some 300 students without shelter. School feeding program caterers make a case why no decent meal can be cooked with the 40 pesos they pay per child. New World Bank report says Africa could have a food market worth $1 trillion by 2030 if we find out what those conditions are. In international news, vote counting begins in Kenya's polls, the first since the 2007 election that claimed 1,000 lives. We have all these, plus sports and showbiz, coming up. Now, very first story, President John Mahama has pledged government support for the $10 billion technology park being built by RLG Communications in collaboration with computer giant Microsoft. RLG believes the project, which was launched today, upon completion will provide jobs for 50,000 people who will churn out globally competitive ICT products. Hope City, as it is called, will also provide housing for 25,000 residents.
For now, it remains an empty, vast land. But RLG and their partners say the tallest building in Africa will occupy this space in the next 3 years. It will have its own educational facilities, including a university, a hospital, and any other facility expected in a modern city. At a colorful ceremony attended by some of the most important people in society and some foreign dignitaries, CEO of RLG, Roland Agambire, hoped his team will also be granted the tax holidays usually given foreign investors to enable them successfully execute the project.
Hope City, when completed, will have equipment and facilities for the design, fabrication and assembling of a number of innovative products, including those of ICT hardware and software development. Hope City will afford us the platform to bridge the gap with the rest of the international industrial community. Hope City is going to be one of the biggest economic discoveries for this country because apart from the natural resources that we've come to inherit from our forefathers, this is the thing that rules the world. Nobody here sits without a mobile phone, and there's nobody here who doesn't communicate. You can't tell me I'm going wrong in the direction where all of us live on it. So this is going to be the economic fiber. That is why I personally think that this is one of the hopes that this country would ever witness in the history of its lifetime.
He used the opportunity to announce the creation of an indigenous telecommunication operation by his outfit. Senior Vice President at Microsoft, Ali Famamwe, said African ICT experts were trooping out of the continent just like it is happening with Africa's soccer talents, and appealed to those with the technological know-how to stay and develop the continent.
We are going to be setting up an end-to-end African academy which will basically cover high-end IT skills in a combination of traditional classroom learning as well as virtual and online learning to make sure that we associate Africa with top class skills. Suarez, do you remember that guy? Okay, what we want is to Suarez-proof our future so no one stands in our way.
Governors for Osun and Akwa Ibom states wished RLG and Ghana well in this new initiative, acknowledging the company's impact in the area of technology in their respective Nigerian state. President John Mahama said this project will complement the National Technical Pact being pursued by government in its quest to provide sustainable jobs.
Even the most oil-rich countries today are investing strongly in services and the knowledge economy. I want to assure that government will offer the necessary support to RLG and any such business entity to guarantee the successful execution of this and similar projects.
Hope City meaning home, office, people and environment, is modeled after a typical northern family house and is symbolic of the RLG CEO's rise through poverty in northern Ghana. The $10 billion project, he says, is his contribution to making a difference in the world as a Ghanaian. Gifty Ando Apia for Joy News.
Elsewhere, illegal miners or galamsey operators have for years violated the country's mining laws. They do not pay taxes or royalties to either the owners of the lands on which they prospect for gold or the state, and yet leave a trail of destruction. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Alhaji Inusa Hussaini, however, thinks it is time to stop these illegal miners permanently. He has also served notice to the traditional leaders who are selling of land to illegal miners for meager sums to desist from the practice.
Residents of mining communities in the country have for years had to endure the gradual dissipation of their sources of livelihoods as illegal miners scavenge their lands for the precious metal gold. Water bodies in particular have not been spared the activities of these miners, but it appears measures adopted so far to halt the practice have not been effective. During a day's familiarization tour of the Minerals Commission, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Alhaji Inusa Hussaini said the ad hoc approach to fighting galamsey is not working.
It's not sustainable because of operational challenges. It's not sustainable because of financial difficulties. So we think that there must be a holistic, comprehensive and coordinated approach to dealing with it. That might involve many more stakeholders.
He noted if nothing is done about the situation now, future generations in mining communities will pay the price.
If we look at it broadly, you will see that the children that we are bringing forth and the children that they will bring forth might never forgive you, especially if they know that you were working at the commission at the time that this thing was happening. That's why we are talking about it. We have also said that probably, and again I'm teasing that out so that you can consider and give us your perspective.
Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, Benjamin Ayi, asked the Commission's workers to work hard and also provide technical assistance to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry and government at large to institute policies which will halt the practice.
Mining in Ghana is no different from mining in Australia or in the US or in DR Congo or anywhere else. So we need to be sure that we know what is happening elsewhere to ensure that we can then promote and regulate what happens in our country.
The minister toured some offices at the commission to acquaint himself with the operations.
There are fears that Nadoli Queen of Peace Senior High School in the Upper West region may be confronted with an outbreak of cerebrospinal meningitis if steps are not taken urgently to find more suitable accommodation for some 400 female students who are being crammed together in the school's dining hall. The students were relocated there out of fear that girls' dormitory may collapse on them following the detection of serious defects in the structure. Rafiq Salam reports.
The girls' dormitory, which was handed over to the school barely 5 years ago, stands out as a magnificent edifice. A close look, however, reveals defects which are obvious to the layman. The concrete pillars supposed to hold up the structure from the ground floor to the first floor are not aligned. There also appears to be no uniformity in the construction of the concrete pillars, as some are either big or straight, while others lean or are crooked. Some of the iron rods in the concrete are also showing signs of corrosion. The authorities therefore took the decision to move the students into the dining hall temporarily, not wanting to have another Melcom disaster with the resultant loss of lives on their hands. Reverend Sister Blandina Pocaria is the assistant headmistress.
It was the plumber who came and detected the fault, saying that the alignments are very bad. So Sister Feda called on the engineer at the district assembly who came over, assessed the place and also confirmed that the place was weak.
The contractor that put up the structure with funds from the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, has been identified as Omona Enterprise. The district chief executive for Kaleo Nadoli, Abu Kabiembata Kansangabata, expressed worry about the colossal amount of money sunk into the project only for it to become a white elephant.
It's quite worried, and I think that this issue, we should not neglect it, we should not leave this issue because somebody belongs to this political party or is a native, or the constructor belongs to this party, or the contractor belongs to this family. And I think that we ought to take it serious.
But even as the local government authorities seek out the culprits, the school authorities are dreading the consequence of keeping the students together in the dining hall, which is poorly ventilated, considering the fact that the school is in a CSM endemic area. The lack of toilet and bathroom facilities mean the over 400 students have to make do with a dilapidated makeshift bathroom built from mud and bricks. This student shared her frustrations and appealed to the government to come to their aid.
This is very muddy, and then in the morning before you get here, this place is overcrowded, is being crowded, and you have to wait for your colleagues to finish bathing for you to enter. And if you don't get up early, you can't get a place to enter before you enter here and leave for class. That will be getting to 7, 8 when lessons are supposed to begin exactly 7 o'clock.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Nadoli.
Elsewhere, rainstorm last night ripped off part of the roof of a dormitory at the Kumasi Girls Senior High School, rendering about 300 students without shelter. According to the school's headmistress, the uncompleted dormitory, which is a Get Fund project, provides temporary shelter for about 1,000 students. 2 classrooms have meanwhile been converted into dormitories to house the students. School authorities appealed to the Regional Coordinating Council for help. Mohammed Nuruddin has filed this report.
The sad incident, which occurred Sunday night, ripped off the roof on 1/3 of the building, leaving some students traumatized and stranded. All the rooms were flooded, and the affected students had no choice but to give up classes on Monday to take care of their soaked mattresses, clothes and books. With their exams approaching, some of the affected students are worried they will not have books to study for the exams. At the time Joy News visited the school, some students were drying their mattresses and clothes. Headmistress of the school, Mary Kra, spoke to Joy News.
Because of the rain and the storm, the roof of this block had been ripped off. About 1/3 of the roof had been ripped off. Even though the block has not been completed, this is where we put the students because it's difficult commuting from town to the school every day, and therefore the parents prefer that they reside on campus. At least 300 have been affected, but the whole block contains 1,000 students.
Some affected students also shared their frustrations with the news team.
Because all my things are wet. I don't have anything to wear. All my uniforms are wet. So I have to wear this and go to the classroom.
I feel uncomfortable because I was here to study, not to, be in this mess. I don't feel good at all.
Yeah, I'm very, very sad about it. All our things are soaked and our chop boxes, our trunks, everything.
Just a day before the disaster, the headmistress, in her address at the school's 50th anniversary, appealed to the relevant authorities to ensure work resumes on the abandoned dormitory.
We hope help gets to them very, very soon. Now, the Ministry of the Interior has reminded the general public that Wednesday, March 6, 2013, which marks Ghana's independence anniversary, is a statutory public holiday and should be observed as such throughout the country. This was contained in a statement signed by Kwesi Ahoy, the Senator. We'll be back with more news. Don't go away. Caterers who prepare food for the school feeding program wants government to increase the amount it pays them for each child they serve. It comes on the back of complaints by some of the pupils that they've stopped taking the meals because of the poor quality of food. The caterers also say at 40 pesos a plate, it takes a miracle to serve what they offer. Joy News' Patricia Say has more.
The school feeding program came with so much promise when it was introduced in 2005. The basic concept is that children in the public kindergarten and primary schools will be served hot and nutritious meal at school each as a way to also attract and keep a lot more of them in school. There's, however, been quite a number of challenges, especially with the caterers denying the children food over the failure by authorities to pay them for meals served. Our visit to some schools to find out how the program is faring took us to this cluster of schools at Medina. The children were on break and getting ready to eat the rice and stew that had been served. The meals were definitely not hot and without any protein. I couldn't be so sure about the nutrition value. Though some seemed to enjoy their meals, others preferred to pass, and they had their reasons.
I don't eat it. Yes. The way the color is, I don't like it. And sometimes the scent. The jollof, it does not have a deep color. Like the color is somehow light. We don't like the way the color is.
The time I was in class 4. I've taken it by in class 6. I went to class. I've been taking it better. I don't like the way the women prepare the food, the scent of the food. Jollof look like red oil. I use red oil to prepare the jollof. And if they cook the rice, if you touch the rice, as if they have used coconut to mix it or something like that. Soft specie.
One of the teachers also had similar complaints.
For the quality, it's lacking. The nutritional nature or the nutrition that is expected is also lacking, because me as a teacher, I am not saying that they should give us the best of food, but even as it is food, it should be of the best. You don't give something which is of low quality to children. It's not right. They don't serve with fish, they don't serve with egg either, and so we have situations where they serve rice throughout the week. It's not good.
But are the caterers really to be blamed?
Taking 38 pesos to the market to buy cooked rice for your child, I don't think it's you can't even the way the woman will look at you. I mean, it's appalling.
They complain they don't even get the entire 40 pesos, and it does not come in good time.
With the 40 pesos, 5% tax is being attracted. You see, so you can imagine 40% pesos, then 5% taken from it. It's 38 pesos.
We have been paid half of the feeding cost. So we have some arrears from last term, yes. And this term we have already, we are done with about half of the term, which we have not taken any money for. But you know, we have to continue paying our workers. If not, they will not come to work. So we go and then take loan and all that from other places to handle the business.
They called on governments to intervene and threatened to demonstrate by the end of March if the situation doesn't change.
Beni apio wanana ne won wo yegbeke bi le wo so no ba tashi ne chuma wanana ke she beni aba pe won ba angbla wo le wo fe wo joma keshi by March ending ka pe wo ba fe demonstration.
The president of the school feeding caterers meanwhile showed me a copy of a petition they intend to present to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, detailing how much prices of the main foodstuffs they use have changed between 2008 and 2013. So with the pupils complaining and the caterers insisting they have a case, who's to give, whilst hot and nutritious meals remain cold and bland?
Meanwhile, the head teacher of Dochikrom DA Primary and Junior High Schools in the Esutifit District, Samuel Ejepoku, has stated the absence of the school feeding program in the school is hampering effective academic work. According to Mr. Ejepoku, the children are not attracted to school because they always come on empty stomachs. He has therefore appealed to the administrators of the school feeding program to get the school onto the program. He spoke to Joy News when gold mining firm Newmont presented solar lamps to them. But elsewhere, Work is expected to begin in 2 weeks on a project designed to improve Accra's drainage and sewer system. The project will separate liquid from solid waste material which have clogged the Odaw Basin. This was disclosed by engineers working on the project when Accra Mayor Alfred van der Poel visited the site as part of his working tour of the city.
Alfred van der Poel's first stop was the Conti project at the Lavender Hill, which is being jointly undertaken by the AMA and Zoomlion Ghana. As part of the project, the liquid and solid waste materials will be separated, with the solid waste being used for the manufacturing of fertilizer. The liquid waste, on the other hand, will be treated and used for fish farming and irrigation. Project coordinator Frederick Sunson says trials will be conducted before actual work starts in 2 weeks.
We ran a pilot version for 3 months of the same site, but in a smaller version. And we tried various things, and I think, you know, we have to thank God that things worked out very, very well, very, very well. As I said, where we could have problems is inside of this pump if we get stones. However, with the secondary filter we saw on the hoses, we are basically taking that option away. Trial runs before we can open up full scale. But we have tried and tested everything, and we're very, very confident, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
A second phase of the project is expected to be rolled out after the first phase is completed to ensure that Lavender Hill is permanently closed. The next stop on the mayor's tour was Kolobu, where he inspected 20 water closet facilities. The provision of these toilet facilities are aimed at halting the use of pan latrines in the metropolis. According to the mayor, 24 more water closets will be provided for the community by the end of June this year. The tour ended with the inspection of some Millennium City School projects at the Salvation Army Cluster, Dansuman Upoti 1 and 2, and the Kotubabi Cluster of schools. The USAID-funded 18 classroom blocks will have 36 toilet facilities, offices, a computer laboratory, and 1 library for the schools. Satisfied with the progress of work in the first 3 schools visited, the mayor said that they should be ready for occupation by the end of the month.
I am very impressed with the schools, the fact that they are nearing completion, and my only concern is this one. But the contractor has assured me that he's going to double the workforce so that we can get everybody in line, so that by the end of March we will be where we need to be.
The mayor was also optimistic that by the end of the year, 24 more 18-unit classroom blocks would have been built to improve educational facilities in the metropolis.
Authorities at the Langquantanang Medina Assembly this morning embarked on the demolition of structures to clear traders of the highway that runs through Medina. The action comes after several notices for the traders to stop selling on the road were ignored. Municipal Chief Executive Franklin Anku promised his staff will stay dedicated to the current decongestion exercise, which extends to the entire stretch of the road from Legon, adding the Assembly intends to ensure the engineers are given the free hand to complete the construction of the road on time. He spoke to Joy News.
It's an exercise that we thought of it some time ago, that we need to decongest the municipal capital, more especially the principal streets and then the highways along the Legon-Adenta area. That where traders and hawkers have taken over all the streets, traffic has been impeded, both human and vehicular. So we need to go in there and make sure that they are cleared so that we can all have our sanity.
Several people are feared dead in a motor accident involving a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter from Mankasim and a Hyundai truck which occurred on Saturday at the Ampam Junction on the Accra-Cape Coast Road. According to eyewitnesses, the Hyundai truck burst its tire veering to the lane of the oncoming Mercedes-Benz. The two vehicles eventually collided head-on. Information reaching Joy News indicates that 9 persons died on Saturday, whilst 11 were admitted. Some of the victims who sustained injuries were also transferred to the Kolobu Teaching Hospital for further treatment. 2 of the victims on admission died yesterday, increasing the death toll to 11. Up next, we bring you business news. The country's 2013 budget and economic policy statement will focus on completing projects announced by government last year rather than new ones. The budget is to be presented to Parliament tomorrow by Finance Minister Seth Terkper. It will also focus on programs aimed at improving the environment for private businesses as well as infrastructure development to accelerate growth and attain economic stability. It will also look at ways of addressing government's rising expenditure. Mr. Terkper says the budget would prioritize yet to be completed projects over new ones. Government since the beginning of this year has been working with an interim budget which made available 6 billion Ghana cedis for its operations. This was to take care of government expenditure from January to March this year. This was to ensure that government business does not grind to a halt until the 2013 budget is approved by Parliament. Cocoa Board has denied reports it is bankrupt and indebted to the Bank of Ghana to the tune of 2.4 billion cedis. The Economic Times, which reported this, said this is mainly as a result of non-recovery of cocoa beans supplied and financial mismanagement by top executives of the company. But speaking to Joy Business, Cocoa Board's Chief Executive Anthony Fofie said this is part of normal trade transactions between his institution and the central bank. IT giant Microsoft is planning to use Ghana as a launchpad for growing its brand in West Africa. The leader in the software and program development market appears to be losing out to other giants like Apple and Google. But speaking to Joy Business as part of a day's work and visit to Ghana, the Vice President Ali Faramawi says their entry to Ghana is part of strategies to maintain their leadership. Mr. Faramawi adds their recent partnership with RLG as part of efforts to localize their software and programs for the Ghanaian market. The National Petroleum Authority says distribution of LPG has begun in earnest to restore normal supply. The authority last week assured of normal supplies by close of the weekend. This is, however, yet to happen as checks by Joy News over the weekend reveal the situation is worsening with long queues in several communities. Officials of the National Petroleum Authority attributed the shortage to purely some planned works at both Takrady and Tema to ensure faster delivery of the product from the vessel to the storage. Africa's farmers and agri-businesses could create a $1 trillion food market by 2030 if the continent can expand access to capital, electricity, better technology, and irrigated land to grow high-value nutritious foods. The new World Bank report made these findings, however, says African governments will have to work more closely with agri-businesses to feed the region's fast-growing urban population if this is to be realized. Marianne Toure was part of a media delegation at the local World Bank office for the launch of the report today.
According to the Growing Africa, Unlocking the Potential of Agribusiness report, Africa's food systems, currently valued at $313 billion a year from agriculture, could triple if governments and business leaders radically rethink their policies and support to agriculture, farmers and agribusiness, which together account for nearly 50% of the continent's economic activity. Director of the Sustainable Development Department for the Africa region at the World Bank, Jamal Sagi, shares his insights about the book.
When we look about developing the agricultural sector, developing the agribusiness, we need to think also about the sector per se and what could cover. This is more than 40% of GDP of the continent, and that's an important aspect. In some countries, Mali, 55% of the GDP of Mali is agricultural driven, so you can imagine post-conflict how the small farmers will have to play an important role and how therefore moving them and link them to market is an important aspect. Despite the different opportunity, Africa has converted from a net exporter to a net importer of agricultural products.
The report cites several factors such as population growth, rising incomes and urbanization, slowdown in research spending, and land degradation and water scarcity. It says will keep food prices at high levels. In this new market, Africa has great potential for expanding its food and agricultural exports. The report cautions, however, that even as land will be needed for some agribusiness investments, such as acquisitions, they can threaten people's livelihoods and create local opposition unless land purchases or leases are conducted according to the ethical and socially responsible standards, including organizing local users' rights through consultations with local communities and fair market rate compensation for land acquired. Authors of the report of the World Bank took turns to answer questions from the participants. The launch brought together journalists and civil society groups and stakeholders from across the continent. Marian Toure's report for Joy News.
HSBC paid out $4.2 billion last year to cover the cost of past wrongdoing, as well as $1.9 billion in fines for money laundering. The bank also set aside another $2.3 billion for mis-selling financial products in the UK.
The figures came as HSBC reported rising underlying profitability and revenue in 2012 and an overall profit before tax of $20.6 billion. Chief Executive Stuart Galliford's total remuneration for 2012 was some $7 million compared with $6.7 million the year before. After taking account of the deferral of pay this year and in more highly remunerated years previously, Gulliver actually received $14.1 million in 2012, up from $10.6 million in 2011. The company's 16 top executives received an average of $4.9 million each. Globally, 204 employees were paid more than £1 million last year, of which 78 were in the UK, where the group has its headquarters. While acknowledging the bank's past anti-money laundering and sanctions failings, he said the bank's performance had been strong enough to allow it to increase its dividend by 10%. HSBC was fined by US and UK regulators for breaking various laws against doing business in Syria and Iran with Mexican drug cartels.
Eurozone finance ministers are meeting in Brussels to discuss how to fund a potential €17 billion bailout for Cyprus. Germany has pushed for depositors in Cyprus banks to help pay for the rescue, a process known as bail-in. But Cyprus fears a bail-in could spark a withdrawal of funds from the country.
...2012 MTN FA Cup champions New Adubiase failed to progress beyond the preliminary stage of the 2013 CAF Confederations Cup, losing out on penalties to Congo-Brazzaville side Diable Noir in their second leg encounter. The match ended 1-0 in favour of the Congolese side, the same scoreline Adubiase recorded in the first leg played at the Accra Sports Stadium 2 weeks ago. Deputy Chief Executive Officer of New Adubiase, Alex Akume, is proud of the team performance and believes they fought a good fight.
We played a good game. I'm proud of my boys. They did well. They fought hard. Unfortunately, we lost on penalties, and it's a game. I'm proud of them, and we are proud of the women and all of us and their family, because we lost, but we lost good loss. We fought a good fight. So I appreciate everybody who was here to support us, and our hosts. They are good to us, their home fans who applaud us, and we invest a lot of money in this trip, in this cup competition. And I believe that with that investment, we should want to give us a morale that we can export and good next year. But unfortunately, everything is a blessing. So God knows the burden is too big for us, so we have to lift the burden up. the badminton a bit so that we can come back and play the league and maybe have a good time in the league.
Ghana's CAF Champions League representative Kumasi Asante Kotoko are through to the next stage of the competition after they beat Sonny El Nguema 1-0 in Equatorial Guinea. Sports Elvis Afriyanka today stormed the training camp of International Boxing Organization bantamweight aspirant Joseph Agbeko ahead of his impending championship bout against Colombian Luis Melendez to wish him well and also assure his team of government support to enable him defeat his opponent.
Our brother Agbeko is preparing for his world title fight. I think this will be the second after the professor had his boxing title in this country. It's a big event, and I want to come and see him and encourage him on behalf of His Excellency the President, that he knows that the President is behind him, the government is behind him, and all Ghanaians are behind him, and he deserves our maximum support. So my presence here is to support and encourage Agbeko and to use this platform to call on all Ghanaians from all walks of life to be there on that day to give him the maximum support. If you may not be a boxing enthusiast, but he's fighting for Ghana, he will be carrying the flag of Ghana. And when he brings glory, the glory goes to Ghana. For once, let's take our friends, our families, our wives, our boyfriends, girlfriends, everybody, let's go and watch Agbeko do us proud.
The boxer expressed his delight at the minister's visit and government's interest, as this for him would go a long way into winning the bout.
The biggest motivation ever, as far as this bout is concerned, it's going to, inspire me a lot. It's going to motivate me in every aspect. I'm going to be, even though I'm going into, fight and win for myself and the whole nation, it's going to, push me, push harder than before. It's not going to be any pressure. It's going to be a lot of motivation instead. Having the president, the minister, and the whole nation, looking forward for your win, I think it's a big motivation, not a pressure, no.
Oh, very, very exciting and interesting sports minister over there. There's a lot to come for him, though. Agbeko was scheduled to take on Colombian opponent Luis Melendez on March the 8th at the CrossFord Stadium, but the fight has been rescheduled for March 22nd due to what promoters describe as technical challenges. That'll be all for sports. My name is George Addy Jr. Do have a good evening.
Sports was